our work session items. We're going to call on Miss Molly Berkman with Benefits Consultant of Northwestern Benefit for an update. Molly?
Well, good afternoon. Thank you for having us. I see new faces, so I just want to introduce myself again. My name is Molly Barkman. I'm with Northwestern Benefit Corporation, and we are the broker that works with Carroll County on your medical benefits. So I'm here today just to do kind of an overview of self-funding with specifics to Carroll County and where you are and kind of your cost so far. You all have a presentation up there. So if you start on page 2, just in general, obviously Carroll County is self-funded. So with self-funding, you as the employer are taking on all of the risk up to the stop loss limits. If claims are higher than expected, then you realize the savings. Of course, if they're over expected, then you would have the financial liability for that up to a certain point. Where with fully insured, you pay a premium, the carrier pays all the claims. If it's more than you paid in, the carrier's kind of on the hook for that. So lots more financial responsibility on your side for being self-funded. With self-funded, you have to have the third-party administrator, so we have Blue Cross Blue Shield, and they're administering your claims really just like they would with the fully insured plan. They're sending out the cards, we use their network, they're maintaining your eligibility, they do case management, they prepare all your claim reports. For that service, for the administrative fees, we pay $36.60 per employee.
Per month?
Per month, per employee per month. With that, you have the admin fees with Blue Cross, and then there's also stop loss insurance. So this protects you up to a certain, you pay claims up to a certain amount, and then it would protect you for the amounts above that. There's stop loss, which mitigates the claims volatility during the plan year. Your stop loss is also with Blue Cross, so they administer it, and they also carry the stop loss coverage. There's 2 types of stop loss. There's individual, which we'll talk about in a minute, and then there's an aggregate stop loss. Your individual stop loss costs $134.13 per employee per month, and your aggregate stop loss costs $14.20 per employee per month. For the individual stop loss, this is protecting you against an unforeseen catastrophic claim to one individual member. Your limit is $85,000, so you would be responsible for the first $85,000, and then Blue Cross as a stop loss carrier is going to pay the claims once they reach that point. The claims that are above the individual claim limit are reimbursed by the insurer, and the deductibles usually range from $50 to $250, and like I said, yours is at $85,000. So that can vary. It just depends on your size, your claims history, your risk tolerance, and so on. For the aggregate stop loss insurance, this is protecting you against the overall claims of the entire group for the entire year. The ASL sets a limit for the annual claims, so they tell us up front, this is what we would expect your claims to be. And then your corridor is 105%, so you're responsible for 105% of those claims. If you get to that max liability, then the stop loss, the aggregate coverage is going to start picking up all the claims for the entire group beyond that point. You do have monthly accommodation, so this limits to how much Carroll County would have to pay in a month for claims. If it goes over that, then it kind of gives you credit for the next month, and then you would pick up and pay that for the following month, but there is a limit on what you would have to pay per month. So some of the advantages of self-funding are it reduces the premium tax, gets rid of the ACA insurer fee. The administrative services are typically less than fully insured retention cost. It eliminates and reduces carrier risk charges and profit margins. The company keeps the savings if your claims are lower than expected. There's greater claims cost transparency because you see all of the claims. Greater design and flexibility because we have a little bit, we have more say in kind of how we design the plans. And then you're not required to cover some of the state mandated benefits like you would be on a fully insured. Disadvantages could be that if your claims experience is worse than expected, you would pay the additional cost. If at any given year your self-funded plan cost exceeded the fully insured premium, that could be a disadvantage. There's HIPAA hands-on, so there's just a whole lot more requirements and restrictions around you because you do see the information that you see as far as the claims and a greater administrative responsibility to you. So fully insured equivalents. These are what are calculated. Typically, you're used to seeing in fully insured an employee and spouse, and a family rate. So when you're fully insured, we have to calculate and come up with the fully insured equivalents, and those are used for COBRA. So if somebody was to go out on a COBRA, that's what they would pay for those benefits. So for 2016 to 17, you can see that chart at the bottom. That is what your premium equivalents are for this policy year for all 4 plans that you offer. If you turn to the next page, so we added 2 plans this year, and the majority of employees actually shifted to the newer plans that we added. Those plans were kept as the zero-cost plans, and then we kept the $1,500 plans as a buy-up option. This shows you where the enrollment landed. So 46% of your employees have single coverage. 16% of those cover their spouse. You can see that there's 388 on that new plan that we offered this year, the in-network only plan. And 131 stayed on the $1,500 in-network plan. Very few people are on the in and out of network plans, and you don't really need to be because the Blue Cross network is huge, and most carriers are going to be in network, so you don't have to worry about the out of network. So employees are enrolling in the in-network only plan, which is a lower cost to you as the employer. The next is your employee cost share. So this is benchmarking data that we take. It compares like employers in your industry, comparing what your employees pay to what other counties charge their employees. Anything in blue is what Carroll County is charging. So you have a plan where you're charging nothing to 9%. You're charging 12 to 20% for another plan. And you can see that the red lines are much higher. So most employers like you are charging employees a whole lot more for their benefits. This is just your current claims data. So when we looked back and we renewed in 2016, if we were to just have kept the 2 plans that you had and not added the additional plans based on the enrollment at the snapshot at that time, your projected max liability was going to be $8,159,000. With the addition of the $2,500 plan and the shift in enrollment over to that plan, the max liability based on the numbers that we have today would be about $7.5 million. So potentially a $500,000 savings there. And then below that is the actual chart of where you are today. So it gives you the actual total fixed cost that you've paid to date is $593,000. The total variable cost, which is your medical and pharmacy claims, is $3,000,001 for a total of $3,000,007 from July until December. Currently, you're running 2% over expected and 3% under the max.
Say that one more time.
Just the last
there it
sentence?
is.
Mm-hmm.
2%.
Yep,
last
2%
line.
over.
Okay.
Yep. And then for high claimants, so as I mentioned before, your ISL limit is $85,000, so you pay the first $85,000 on any claim. Blue Cross basically pulls anything over $50,000, so you'll see that there are currently 8 large claimants. 4 of them are employees, totaling $344,000 in claims, and 4 of them are spouses, totaling $512,000 in claims.
Molly, like on number 1,
Mhm.
36,000, we paid the first 85.
Correct.
You paid the rest.
Correct.
Okay, so on 8 of these, well, 4 of them, we
4
paid
of 'em.
85%, and then the other one's 79, 73, 71, 59 so far.
Correct. Yep.
I'll make sure I understood that.
85,000, yeah. Yep.
I got that, yes.
Any other questions?
The fee for the administrative that we pay,
Mhm.
does that include Northwestern benefits fee, or is that in addition? Is that an additional charge?
It's additional.
Put it in microphone when you talk.
Oh, turn y'all's on.
So when do we start our next budgeting process with you, or to tell us, where we are and what to do? Because I know there were some things that we might want to institute in the next step going forward.
Yep. We would probably be meeting early to mid-March, just for an initial conversation. We'll get your renewal probably closer to the end of March, so we'll have actually numbers at that point. And of course, we market you every year with other carriers, so we'll have all that information probably beginning to mid-April for your July renewal.
Was there anything in here on medication at all, or did that matter? Or-
We do have it. I didn't include it in
Okay.
this. I can certainly send it or bring it,
I just
next time
didn't-
to see it.
I just didn't know if it was a big impact.
I can definitely send you that information. We do have it.
Okay, so this 344,462, where do we pay that out of? Is that in the claims on last page, the first 85,000?
We budget the maximum,
Come out of the general budget?
uh-huh,
Okay,
and
that's what,
we've been averaging like 500,000 a month, I think, for medical expenses, when we don't go over, but the average is 500,000.
Oh, I'm sorry. It is actually on here. If you look at page 12, in that variable cost box, it breaks out medical claims versus pharmacy claims, so you can see the cost, just not specifics on medications or anything.
So pharmacy claims are fairly high, too.
I would say, what is it, usually like 13, 20%?
It's a high percentage of your overall cost
Okay,
compared to the average employer. I would say we're seeing that percentage of your medical claims versus pharmacy increase across the board. But especially when you have a population that doesn't turn over a lot. When you have long-term employees and you're with them for their lives, then they're gonna tend to take more medications later on.
yep. Well, thanks.
Any other questions for Molly?
I do. Are y'all checking, I think I asked this last year too and the year before, and it still doesn't do the math, to ever not be self-funded? Are we still double checking to make sure this is still the best way financially for us to go?
Yes, we do, and we did last year too.
Trending the other way, or are we still good?
You're still. The thing to keep in mind, so to be fully insured last year, it was basically right around the same cost. It may have been, I don't know, 10, 20,000 less, but you have to keep in mind that there's costs for going from self-funded to fully insured. So you have to pay Blue Cross Blue Shield 9% an admin cost to continue to process your claims, plus you have to continue to pay those claims. So when you look at it that way,
No, I guess I'm just looking at the protection of the 85,000
Mm-hmm.
and all that. I mean, that's why I just want to make sure we're still better this way.
for self-funding,
Yes.
yes, we can certainly look at even increasing from 85,000. Like I said, it goes from 50 to 250, so you can raise that deductible to kind of bring costs down, and we'll do that analysis based on your claims to see if that makes sense. But yeah. Anything else?
Anything else for Molly?
Nope,
Seeing that, Molly, thank y'all.
Thank
Appreciate you
you.
coming down.
thank you.
Item number 2 on the work session is a presentation update on parks. Parks Director Ben Skipper and staff.
Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. With this coming up, Commissioner Trent North had asked me to look into 3 things at Tanner's Beach or Tanner Park, which was replacement of the paddle boats. We have a quote for $24,734 for the paddle boats, repairing the putt-putt golf course out there. We have a 10-year carpet replacement of $4,621, or a 4-year guaranteed for $3,300. The clubs and balls would be $602. To do a lake management, 2 years ago, the parks had a southeastern pond come out and shock the lakes to do a fish count, pH test, and fertilizer test within the lakes, and they're recommending for the top lake $5,417, which would be grass-eating carp, which would keep the algae that's growing in the lake. And last year we had to spray the lake, and the reason is during the triathlon event, that is part of the course. They swim the lake, so we didn't want them coming out, looking like a slime monster. So we had sprayed the lake to get the algae down, and the lower lake would be $3,152. That's what we was looking at for Tanner's Park, but what we wanted to show today in parks is the fruit of the Carroll County Board of Commissioners investing in the parks over the last 6 months. So this is what we wanted to show you today. And I'll pull this out. The Clem Community Center, as the Board of Commissioners knows, was talked about 2 years ago. We are remodeling this building now. This is the current building. It has paneling on the wall, carpet in the floor, and where the carpet's pulled back, you can see some mold here in this area. We had a leak. We had some mold and a little bit of rot back here in the back that we're repairing. Here's the kitchen, where we're replacing and updating the kitchen. Here are the bathrooms. The picture here is just to show you they're not ADA handicap accessible, so they're being converted to handicap accessible. Here on the back, here's the back of the building. Here in the back, you can see here, we have removed out the doors to put in double commercial doors for handicap accessible. Here's the front. And then here's, same here. We had a brick mason come in to fix all the windows to make them the same size, because we had different size windows because this project was built over several years. We've gutted the building down to back to bare bones so we can get in and find areas that may need attention. Here's Moore's Bridge. This was in the beginning of last fall when this project was approved. This is where the parking lot will be. Of course, here's where Charles Pope and his guys are out grading the boat ramp. They're putting in the gravel for the boat ramp. And here is where, that's Danny and Chris, and of course our inmates from the camp. And what they're doing, they pour the concrete, and that is a stamp that they're stamping in the concrete to make ripples in the concrete so they can get out with the boats. There's a close-up view of that. And here's how we put the boat ramp in the water. We poured it on top, let it cure for 2 weeks, and then we took a D8 dozer and pushed it out into the water. So a lot of people, wanted to know how did we get the boat ramp in the water, and that's how we did it. Here's the boat ramp, the concrete that is completed. And here's a view upriver. Here's the parking lot with the gravel down. And here's Ronnie Rush from Charles Pope's office paving. There's the completed parking lot. Here's our grand opening that we all had. And then we had a local provider provide some canoes, and a few people went down the river and had some fun. And that's what the parks are all about, is we all want to have some fun. So and here's everybody out in the river playing. And just from some more notable persons, that's Commissioner Michelle Morgan right there, shooting a hooch. This is John Tanner Park. And what we want to draw your attention to here is over the years, we've had sediment come into the lake. You can see this grass from last summer. So what Charles Pope's guys came out and dug the sediment out of the lake so our paddle boats could actually get back into the slips, because enough sediment had come in that we wasn't using all the slips on the paddle boats. And here's where the paddle boats are staged and rented. And then here's another picture. And then here's another view of the same picture, that you can see the sediment here on the old shoreline. And here's where the boats are supposed to go, but they weren't able to go. And now here's the same picture now. The water levels are back to the beach, as you can see here with the cursor, and all the slips are available for the paddle boats. This is the other side of where the paddle boats go, and you can see here where the sediment has washed into the lake. And this used to be all beach here on this side. let's see, well, and here it is now. So after we've reclaimed the beach area, removed the sediment, as you can see, all the slips now have water for the paddle boats. The beach is back here for beach goers to enter this side of the lake too during crowded periods. And here is Ronnie Rush with Charles Pope's office removing the sediment. So, and what we did is we was using the county's grade all, so we wouldn't disturb our current grass out there. Here's the paved walking trail around the lake, and all these white stripes that you see throughout the pavement. It's where the roots have busted up the asphalt. And when we have the triathlon event, the triathlon promoters come out and paint all hazards in the walking, on the running course, so people will know to kind of dodge them. And you can see, here's a blow up of what all that looks like from the tree damage. This is Public Works again, removing that old asphalt, putting down new base, paving it, and now this is the new walking trail around the lake, completed. Little Tallapoosa Park, here's improvements that we did last summer. We got a gator. We just wanted to thank the Board of Commissioners for that. That's to just kind of tell you how neat that is. I think we got it in August. We already have over 300 hours on it, because the walking trails at Little Tallapoosa Park are not wide enough to get a pickup truck down. So the guys had to walk the trails and pull the sticks out by hand. So now they're able to go down and keep the walking trails and the horse trails trimmed with this little gator here. Here's Wesley Bass out at Little Tallapoosa Park. He's plowing up a food plot that we planted this fall for the deer. It came in invaluable this year with the drought. Wasn't a lot to eat, so it was a great food source for our local wildlife. Here's the playground area. This past summer, we got the sand all installed. This is afterwards. And this is a pond that if you had pulled into Little Tallapoosa Park and went into the drive around, you didn't know that there was a pond less than 100 yards from the parking lot. So this is, again, where a few years ago, the Board of Commissioners bought a skid steer with a mulching head on it. So what this does, it allows us to go in, mulch all the shrubs, and not disturb the soil. This is the horse camping this past summer. And then this is the horse camping after we remodeled it. We doubled the size of the parking pads. We increased the radiuses to allow the people to pull in their horse campers. I want to say a camper, allow them to pull in their horse trailers so they can park. And here's one of our horse campers. He's out riding his horse. This is the same area where the horse camping is prior to mulching, and then this is afterwards. What we did is mulched all the underbrush and the trees. And these pine trees are planted in rows. This is a before shot leaving the park. This is an after shot, which with the lights on you can't quite see it. But here's a kind of a blow up. This is what it looks like now. All of the pine trees are planted in rows. And so when you pull into the park, this is the view you have now. This is a driveway access that we have built to the back lake. This was the Hobbs Lake. Here is, it's kind of hard to see, but right here is where the mulcher is. It was in the park. And if Charles was here, we could get him to tell about the manufacturer brought in a company to come in and watch them demo it here in our parks at Carroll County, and they made a movie about him. Remember Kevin?
Wood?
Kevin Wood, and they did that here with the Beast. The Beast came and did a commercial promo of their product, and they did it in Little Tallapoosa Park when we was out grinding all of the tree clippings.
And they actually featured Carroll County in their publication as well.
That's great. And what we did with those, with that mulch, is we placed it along the dam. This is the dam of the big lake. And once we got it open, as you can see, people came. You know, it wasn't open 2 weeks and people are already out enjoying the lake, fishing. Just today, we had our first person booked for Valentine's Day, primitive camping on the lake. On the opposite side of the lake, we put in primitive because a lot of people had been expressing they wanted the kind of that North Georgia feel where they can hike in, backpack in, carry their stuff in, but still not have to leave town. So on the opposite side of the lake, we have walking trails where you can backpack in and camp primitive. This is the splash and play under construction. This is where they're poured the slab. They're putting up the blocks. And this is where they are this week. So the walls are up, roof's fixing to start going on. We're going to be ready for spring at Little Tallapoosa Park, and we're excited about that. The public is excited about that. We have a lot of people just drive through, come and say, hey, can we go look? You know, they're just really interested. The word's getting out, and people, hey, what is that? What are y'all doing? So the word's getting out, and we're really excited about that. These are the events that we had in the parks in 2016. This was the triathlon event. This is Shane Harmon and Amanda Long accepting the reward from the promoter, thanking Carroll County Parks. This is McIntosh Reserve, Rivers Alive, September the 10th. And I'm reading this because someone may not be able to see it. We had 300 volunteers, 1,200 pounds of trash on our Clean the River Up. This is some of our volunteers. There was a lot of them. So it takes a lot of pictures. Here they are cleaning out the river. Got the kids involved. They all ate good. And then in this picture, what you're seeing is what was the biggest piece of trash and then the most unique piece of trash, and this one scared everybody to death. We had a doll. So that was just some of the things that comes downstream from Atlanta. Here's
Some
a
of the
pickup.
things.
Here's a pickup truck load of trash that we got out of the river. And then here's some more of our volunteers. Little Tallapoosa Park, Indian Springs, Girl Scouts. They had a 5K color run in September. We had over 80 Girl Scouts in a 5K run out at Little Tallapoosa Park. And as you'll be able to see, they had a great time, a color run. Looks like they spent a lot of time throwing color on each other. She's having a wonderful time. We got a winner. So, this is all at Little Tallapoosa Park. This is the McIntosh Reserve Fly-In. And what the fly-in is we have a group that books the park for the weekend. They all fly into the park. They camp out all weekend, and then they fly back home. So they're flying in from all areas of the state. They're flying in with very unique aircraft. Obviously, they can land in the bottoms at McIntosh Park. Here's our landing strip, which is the bottom in the big field. Here's some of the planes. That's probably the most unique one. This is Connie Maples in our code enforcement department. She went down on Saturday and flew with them. And she took these pictures of the Chattahoochee River in that plane. So these are provided by that brave lady. Little Tallapoosa Park Veterans Barbecue in October. Here's the rock wall that y'all may hear so much about. We're always talking about at Little Tallapoosa Park. We have a rock wall that is really a scenic area. Here's some of our veterans fishing. They had a fishing rodeo. Had a big cookout. Here's our Carroll County's Halloween heyday in October, which we did 25,000 pieces of candy. Had great turnout. May see some faces here we recognize. This is Commissioner Morgan, Beth Parsons, Amanda Long, Christie, Darrell from McIntosh. He was the lion. And we can't forget about Sissy Price. Here she is as the witch.
She looks great.
We have a cutie. Had the hayride. Sucker Pool. This is Ronnie Rush out of Charles Pope's office. We had marshmallow roasts. Believe it or not, we had to teach some kids how to roast a marshmallow. They're having a blast.
I got tired.
And then we had a lot of pictures. And for the finale, we want to invite everybody to McIntosh Reserve's 21st Annual Easter Carnival and Egg Hunt, April 15th, 2017, from 2 to 3 p.m. The egg hunt will start at 2 p.m. There'll be 80,000 pieces of candy, prizes, and eggs.
2 p.m. or 12 p.m.?
12 to 3, 2 p.m.
12, what did I say?
You said 2 to 3.
I was looking at
we
the
got
egg
you.
hunt starts at 2, so I skipped a line there. But the event's from 12 noon to 3 p.m., and the egg hunt will start at 2 o'clock. We'll have an Easter bunny, face painting, inflatable bouncies, kiddie train rides, music and food. And again, it's $5 per carload. So fill the car up. Come on.
Now, something like that, when you say we had, 80,000 pieces of candy or 25,000 pieces of candy, are we meeting our expense with this?
Yes.
I know I have to be the
The
hound dog or whatever, but, you know.
We more than covered the Halloween event, and a lot of those 80,000 pieces of candy are being recycled from the Halloween event too, the prizes. So the prizes and candy that was left over.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Any
Skipper, for the
questions?
update. Any questions for Ben, what we've been doing over the last 6 months, now 7 months,
Yeah, 7 months.
include January?
I'd like to say it's magnificent. You've done a great job. In looking through the SPLOST dollars, that kind of thing, when Charles Pope's group comes and does things for the parks, we need to make sure that money gets allocated, not just to go into recreation, but go into parks, because we have that divided. So it's like there's a log, just like for any SPLOST allocation, that whoever's there, because all of those hours need to get charged and equipment and stuff
They
like
want
that.
Lehman to be able to track it, so you
Sure.
see, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
Charles Pope does that with his staff. He keeps up with it, and those are separate items.
Okay, and you don't have to keep up with anything?
No, I don't. Charles keeps up with his staff on all of those projects.
Okay.
And
So,
he makes a line item. Now, I'm keeping up with it separately for the Clem Community Center because I'm using park staff that did all the demolition. So I'm
Okay.
keeping up with those hours and tickets in a separate line item, and I'm turning them directly into Lehman. So Lehman and I are working directly with the Clem Community Center.
Because I just think we need to really keep separate recreation, figure out what's going to recreation, what's going to parks.
Absolutely.
And then what all Charles is doing, because I
Sure.
think when it comes budget time, that's going to be important to know.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Skipper. Next, we'll move to item number 3, the review and discussion of items for the February 7th, 2017 Board of Commissioner meeting. We'll start under the financial session. Item 9.1 is a financial recap. He'll be giving you basically the same information, November, December financials. He is here today if you haven't got any questions afterwards or whatever, but it'll be what we worked at the review weekend. Item 10, and moving to the business session, item 10.1, we're going to call on County Attorney Stacy Blackman to come forward. Discuss resolution of Board of the Tax Assessors.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. This is a proposal to increase the size of the Board of Tax Assessors from 3 members, which we currently have, with 6-year terms that are staggered, to 5 members, so that we'll have more continuity on the board. The statute allows to have not less you can have not less than 3, but not more than 5, so we think 5 would be a good number to have on that board. Have any questions? Okay.
Any questions for Stacy?
Okay, we vote on this, and when do we turn in names to?
We have not set.
We haven't done all that
no.
yet? Okay, I just,
We can work on that. I talked to their chairman. They want to work along with us and work on that for future events. Yes.
just what time's with the training?
Exactly.
Right.
Yes. Our big thing, that's why we want to go ahead and get the vote on and do that.
Okay.
Any other questions for Stacy? Thank you.
you.
Next is item 10.2, is nominations to Carroll City County Hospital Authority. We received our letter, you'll find that in your package, from Steve Adams, which is the chair of the City County Hospital Authority. It's a joint nomination between county and city. So if you have any appointments you want, there's no appointments, it's just nominations. You make those next week at the meeting.
Well, it says that the city and county get to do 3, is that, what's it talking about?
I think there's a total of 5.
There's positions, because I see things where people have nominated, somebody else in that category or whatever. Three names for each position. So what if there's 3 names? There's 3 names already listed under each of these. We've nominated?
That's, yeah, we'll vote Tuesday night. If you've got somebody different you want to put in those places, you can put one in those places.
So did we put these names in here?
It was a standard letter from last time. We didn't make any changes.
Okay, we need to look at that then. Okay. So do we need to go through each one then, and we can list 3 under it?
Typically what you do, unless you want to make a change, you all just nominate the slate of nominations in the mayor.
Okay,
Or you can go through each one, but you only need to do it.
okay.
That's it. Next, we'll be in the zoning session, and I think we've got 6 or 7 zonings that. I think there may be one change, but other than that, we have a motion to adjourn. Any questions from the board, anything else? See, and